I have played Sackboy Big Adventure. That realization is still quite shocking to me every time I think about it. Being my most anticipated 2020 game after Halo Infinite's delay, just thinking about playing it gives me goosebumps. It's just so surreal that here I am with a PS5 playing this game. Now you may be wondering, why do a full-fledged review of a game that came out a month ago? Well, that hasn't stopped me in the past, and for no specific reason, I only got the game on the 25th and beat it in 2 days. I whipped through it in just 2 days. Roughly, I played 7 hours a day. That's more than I've ever done before, so I thought I'd put together a somewhat coherent and very casual review of the game. This will be divided into two main parts, the base game and the extras. The extras contains everything after the credits roll, extra collectibles, endgame content, and online co-op. If you're wondering whether or not you should get it, you should. It's just that simple. Even if you're a fan of the original LBP games and consider the lack of a create mode to be treason, get it. Trust me. By focusing on play, they were able to create a platformer with more charm, personality, and creative level design than all 3 LBP campaigns put together. But before this video turns into one incoherent rant on why this game is the greatest, let's start with the story. The game's story, while somewhat basic, is one of the best I have ever seen for a kid-friendly 3D platformer. The game centers around Vex, a brilliantly voiced and designed character sucking up all of the Sack folk for them to work on his nefarious machine. Just Sackboy escapes using the pod, nice reference by the way. Now the cutscenes in the game are wonderfully rendered and add so much character. One very slight disappointment in my book though is how you can't actually control the pod. You just go inside to a level select screen, nothing like the original games. But anyways, you make it to the first world with Vex's plans. The story somewhat continues with this overarching theme, but it's here where we first get introduced to the game and Sackboy himself. I could make an entire video on Sackboy's moveset alone. To sum it up though, it's one of my favorite parts of the game. You can roll, hit, ground pound, float, jump, grab, and when you wonderfully chain all of these moves together, it feels truly magical. Combine this with an amazingly fluid 60 FPS, and you get a platformer with my favorite moveset ever. Odyssey does come close in this regard, but the structure of the levels in a big adventure makes Sackboy's moveset feel that much better. See, I love games with movesets that make it feel just cool. Celeste, Titanfall, Odyssey, all of these games have movesets that are quick, fluid, and most importantly, cool to pull off. I was deeply surprised when I found myself enjoying Sackboy's moveset as much as any game's moveset. My favorite is during a timed level jumping and then rolling in mid-air. It just feels so right. With a moveset this diverse though, it's a little surprising that they didn't include any form of a tutorial at the beginning of the game or whenever you use a new ability. I soon realized, however, that it was for the better. Not having a hand-holdy tutorial allowed me to discover the moveset and abilities on my own with that small sense of discovery. Not that it was hard or anything, most moves are pretty self-explanatory, of course. Then, after moving Sackboy around a bit, the other main thing I noticed was the graphics. I have the game on the PS5 and every single detail was so exquisitely rendered that it made Yoshi's Crafted World look like old school Tetris. The way the fabric bounces up and down depending on how you position yourself, the way that real-world objects can be found in almost every level, the way that no building or platform just floats in midair, it all just screams charm and personality. I can't believe that they spent so much time on the lighting, shadows, and buoyancy of various objects. Playing this in person truly highlighted the graphics at play here. But let's get back to the levels themselves. Enemy designs are terrific, with easily a wide enough variety of them to keep gameplay fresh. These colorful abominations each have a different way to take them down, and if bombarded by enough, then it can cause death. But rarely does that happen. I think most can see this one coming. The single largest flaw with Sackboy Big Adventure is the lack of difficulty options. The base game offers little to no challenge, and even when I die, who cares? I have multiple lives, respawn extremely quickly at almost the exact same point I was before, and can gain lives back easily. Especially when Sackboy's main attack, his slap, is so overpowered. Who cares about tightly jumping on enemies when you can just press a button? To be honest though, the life-based system that Sumo Digital has put into place is complex and involved enough that it has loads of potential. Loads of wasted potential, that is. A system like this really only works if you give players options. Simply having extra hard timed levels and using that along with the diverse moveset as an excuse to not have a hard mode is simply ridiculous. Now the reason why this is so infuriating to me and why I won't go easy on the lack of a hard mode at all is because of how just good of a game this is. I beat it in 2 days and still can't stop thinking about it. Even now, I just want to head back in and play some more. But then I remembered, no level is a challenge. Even the coveted Knitted Night Trials don't offer as much challenge as they should. For me, the base game was the perfect difficulty, but now that I've beaten the game already and want to revisit it, I want more challenge. I understand this game's principles of play and want to use the diverse moveset I learned to take on larger challenges. Again, all of this could have been remedied with a simple hard mode. For the hard mode, reduce the amount of lives, increase enemy strength, variety, and quantity. That's it. Now, if somebody wanted the easy mode, for whatever reason, just make it so that you cannot die. Done. Look, I get it's not that easy, but don't try and tell me that they couldn't do it. The rest of the game is just so detailed, so vibrant, and so creative that this game feels like they're throwing away their one true shot replayability. The best comparison I can make is Little Big Planet, the launching point for all things Sackboy. Those games offered a more than healthy amount of challenge within their campaigns. Or maybe I'm just bad, but regardless, it at least kept me on my toes. With this game's difficulty, it almost isolates the returning LBP fans from having an engaging and fulfilling experience. Most of those fans are in their mid-20s. Even though this isn't at all a quote-unquote deal breaker to the game, it's a feature that would increase the enjoyment factor immensely. Moving on though, let's not dilly-dally and really talk about the levels this time. Each world has a theme, and inside each level, there's an additional theme. This makes almost every level stand out just based on graphics alone. Add in new enemies, special objects, and delightfully placed platforms, and you have a game that is endlessly imaginative. Some levels stand out more than others, especially ones that give you new abilities or are on-rail levels. These make the game truly shine and offer the most intense levels of fun. If I had to pick a singular favorite, then it would have to be this one here in Space World. All levels are dense and jam-packed with hidden collectibles, secret rooms, and an abundance of costumes and emotes. Overall, most levels are overflowing and oozing with personality, charm, and just straight-out fun platforming sequences. Let's talk customization. One of the key features Sumo Digital was trying to highlight with The Big Adventure was emotes and costumes. In a way, it was this game's form of creative expression. And boy, was I shocked. I usually hate non-gameplay impacting skins. Sure, there's been exceptions like Minecraft or CSGO, but going in, I thought I'd largely ignore this feature. Turns out, it's one of the best parts of the game. Going through a level and unlocking different parts to a costume and mismatching them to create wacky, ridiculous designs is the best. You might have noticed this by now, but a recurring theme with this game is how much charm, personality, and creativity oozes from it. Customization is another prime example of this. To buy costumes, you use collectibles, this game's primary currency. They're easy to use and fun to collect, but I just wish we could use them for something other than costumes. Like maybe you can buy power-ups or abilities or gain access to secret levels. Or I don't know, something along those lines. I'm not really too sure, but I just feel like they should have done more with them. In addition, emotes offer a hilarious way to take photos at the end of a level and interact with players during online co-op or just co-op in general. But all in all, customization in A Big Adventure is done remarkably well overall. Okay, so to go in between levels, Sumo opted for a somewhat traditional world map. While I do feel that the Sacktown area present at the beginning of the game should have been used as a hub world in between areas with various shops present around the area, the world map is very impressive. It's much like 3D World's world map, with little secrets, short minigame-like areas, and objects scattered throughout. It's fully explorable and is almost like a whole level in itself. Secret pathways take you to various hidden levels from different worlds, and it feels like the best hybrid between a hub world and a standard world map, even if a hub world would have been ideal. Now, as with any 3D platform, boss fights are a staple. This holds true with Sackboy Big Adventure, though in this game they take a less than favorable form. While there are several bosses, each with very creative character designs, the actual gameplay presented in boss fights is lackluster, to say the best. With the game so imaginative and so clever, these boss fights are so painfully basic, they were always just forgettable. Sure, there's a couple standouts, but that doesn't make up for other abhorrent boss fights. By far the biggest disappointment is fighting Vex. For the entirety of the game, they use the exact same format when fighting him. You just grab bombs and throw them at him. That's it. Did they run low on funds or ideas or something? For a game as special as this, they sure botched the boss fights. And to be honest, there's no real way to sugarcoat it. I had to actually search up the bosses in this game because I already forgot what they were. At least, there's one great thing to the bosses: their designs. This remains with every character in a big adventure. You meet various creator curators, each with an out there design. Especially the shopkeeper, you go to customize your appearance. His name is Zoom Zoom, and he is one of the flat out funniest characters.
Spend collectibles to purchase stupendous styles. Then create incredible new looks in your wardrobe.
Voice acting is top notch, and so is the cutscenes these characters are presented in. Returning from Little Big Planet are also the flat cardboard cutout characters, yet this time they don't have any lines and simply act for humorous purposes. They still look great though. However, by and large, the most important character is Scarlet, a supposedly legendary Ninja Knight and protector of Craftworld. She, along with her delightful British accent, guides Sackboy along his journey, offering tips and advice, never ceasing to be a charming and beloved character throughout.
Luckily, there is one thing that can counter that nasty stuff, and you're holding it.
Music. This is honestly a very controversial topic, or as controversial as a Sackboy video can get. The music is more or less a collection of licensed soundtracks from some pretty major artists. Britney Spears, Bruno Mars, and more are all featured in rhythmic music-based levels. For those, it works fantastically. I personally stand by the philosophy that rhythmic levels are best when they feature energetic music, whether that be pop, rock, or hip-hop. Essentially, the goal I feel with those levels is to energize and in a way pump up the player while they are playing the game. For the rest of the levels, it's a bit iffy. An example, second level, First World. Here you got like this pop, chill music playing in the middle of an epic snow-themed level with an abominable snowman running around loose. Even though I love the music that plays, it just doesn't fit. Look, I'm glad it's there. I don't know what else would be there, but it simply feels just a tad off. I remember online that one person said that it was great music, just not great Sackboy music. But to be honest, it all comes down to personal preference. For me, I liked it. It stood out and will continue to stick with me. It makes rhythmic levels all the better and keeps that same energetic vibe with standard ones. For others, it could be an unfit mess that the developers threw together because they simply did not know what songs to use. Okay, really quick, one smaller topic I'd like to address is the use of haptics in Sackboy Big Adventure. It's pretty good. Not great or a hugely important feature like in Astro's Playroom, but simply nice. It's good, it's fine, it's somewhat impressive. The best for my money is going on the jump platforms. There it's intense, quick, and more than responsive. I just wish it could have been used a bit, just a tiny bit more, especially during the use of abilities or items, whatever you'd like to call them. These abilities/items are given to you in very specific levels and consist of the boomerang, the grappler, and the hover boots. Each is used for unique platforming challenges and boost the variety in this game tenfold. See, this is a platformer without any power-ups, and to combat this, they opted for these abilities. The boomerang does what it always does: kill enemies and interact with the environment. It can kill these like spiky cacti, and that leads to more accessible platforms being unlocked. Also, later in the game, it allows you to teleport between these gel-like substances, allowing for some great platforming sequences. The grappler is so fun. Equipping it applies some adaptive triggering, and using it allows you to swing across platforms and different objects closer to you. Only complaint is that it's not in enough levels. It's such a great mechanic and by far my favorite ability. Now finally, the hover boots allow you to both hover in the air for a short while and shoot a standard energy gun. It's a little basic, but adds some nice platforming variety and feels just cool to use. On top of those three, some smaller abilities are granted along the way in the form of Honey and Umbrella, and possibly some others that I'm forgetting. Overall, the abilities found in A Big Adventure are essential to the experience at hand. They, along with dozens of other design factors, make it so that a lack of variety is something that won't even cross your mind. To sum it up as short and quick as possible, Sackboy: A Big Adventure is one of the best 3D platformers out there, filled to the brim with hidden secrets, collectibles, variety, charm, and of course, endless amounts of creativity. There is just simply so much passion behind this game that makes it exceed my wildest expectations on what it could ever have been. It easily beats out every Little Big Planet campaign combined, and taking it for what it is, no create mode at all, leaves you with an experience that you simply cannot get out of your mind, nor will you ever want to. In conclusion, this is a fantastic game and one of PlayStation's best. This part will focus on the extras of Sackboy: Big Adventure, essentially everything after the credits roll. Ninja Night Trials, Endgame, online play, team levels, collectibles, and playtime. After the credits roll on this monumental title, you gain access to the endgame, a collection of a handful of levels in the Wonder Plane, a bonus world with a theme centered around the sky and abstract level design. The whole point of this world is to provide creative, random levels that wouldn't fit in the base game. Unlike traditionally, objects and platforms float in midair without any explanation. This makes the Wonder Plane distinct for this reason alone. It's very much like Super Mario Odyssey in terms of level and world design. Just like that game, it had special areas with obtuse, abstract level design that wouldn't fit anywhere else. And yet, they fit perfectly here. The levels are pure, chaotic, wacky fun that offer far more challenge than any of the base game's content. While you start off with only one level, you can unlock additional areas using Dreamer Orbs. The cost is a little high, but offers more reason than ever to revisit the game's levels, especially team levels. Now, team levels are basically co-op only levels that showcase some seriously impressive and creative level design. These are some of the best areas in the game and can lead to wild chaos when playing with friends. There's quite a few of them too, each one utilizing the unique mechanics found in their world. It's a quick way to gain some Dreamer Orbs too. But want to find an even better way? Knitted Night Trials. By far the hardest areas in the game, namely because of the time constraint. These levels are painful. There are 15 of them, and one bonus one that I don't want to talk about that one. To unlock them, you have to collect these matrix cube-looking things that are scattered throughout levels. During my first playthrough, it was a nice treat to hunt these collectibles down, knowing that I'd eventually try and beat every trial. Getting gold in a trial gives you 3 orbs, and silver and bronze gives you 2 and 1 respectively. Getting gold isn't too bad, but it did take me about 2.5 hours to get gold on every trial, minus the last bonus one. So it's a nice content boost, especially if you go after that cursed 16th trial. The biggest disappointment for me, though, was finally beating every single trial. You just get a costume. A cool looking costume at that, but just a costume. No secret cutscene or teaser for a potential sequel, no extra bit of content, no little thank you note, or really anything other than just a costume. I spent hours beating the hardest levels this game had to offer, and I get a costume. Oh, well, I guess you get some extra little stickers to fill out this little booklet, but come on, we all know what we wanted here. A special cutscene of Sackboy getting appointed an official knight with a full ceremony. It's all anybody's ever wanted, though I suppose these stickers are good for someone interested in the collectibles of this game. The collectibles in Sackboy: Big Adventure are as followed: orbs, stickers, the Knitted Night Trials, costumes, emotes, and various little requirements within a level, such as not dying once. The orbs, costumes, and emotes all have somewhat functional uses, but the rest are pretty much out of your own desire to collect them. I typically ignore collectibles in games, and that's also what I mainly did here. There just wasn't enough incentive to get all the stickers, collect all the costumes, and beat every single level without dying. It just seemed a little too tedious to me. But then on the other hand, for someone who does enjoy collectibles, there are plenty of them to keep someone entertained even after the credits roll. And I did greatly enjoy tracking down Dreamer Orbs. especially since they felt valuable enough to collect. So overall, collectibles in A Big Adventure feel a bit tedious, but are great additions nonetheless. So I got this game for Christmas, and I had access to online play from day one. While initially supposed to be included on launch, online play was pushed back until the 19th of December. It didn't affect me though, and I can safely say that it makes this game not only infinitely more replayable, but also just more fun. It really bugs me when platformers offer local co-op, but not online co-op. Like, come on, that would have helped tremendously, especially given recent circumstances, if you know what I mean. Thankfully, with A Big Adventure, they decided to not only implement full online play, but to make it the smoothest, simplest, lag-freest experience imaginable. Basically, all you do is either invite friends online, create your own online match that anyone can join, or simply search for one online. It doesn't overcomplicate things and makes joining matches a total breeze. Inside the actual matches is even better though. Performance is ridiculously smooth, along with the ability to connect with up to 4 people, leading to chaotic fun. Costumes are one of the main reasons for this. See, since A Big Adventure offers a myriad of customizability options, it makes for hilarious creative expression. It's truly a great thing that they decided to carry over online play from LBP. Okay, so lastly, I thought I'd cover the total playtime for Sackboy Big Adventure, including getting all the collectibles and completing the Knitted Night Trials. It took roughly 14 hours for me to beat the base game. Again, that's without touching any of the game's bonus content. In terms of the quote-unquote extras of the game, that took an additional 14 to 15 hours, leading to a total of 30 hours of playtime. That includes the Knitted Night Trials, costumes, Dreamer Orbs, emotes, and stickers. For most people though, I could see it taking anywhere north of 8 hours for the base game, and an additional 12 for the extras. So yeah, at least 20 to 30 hours of content ain't too bad for a traditional 3D platformer. Naturally though, that doesn't even come remotely close to LBP, with each LBP title offering thousands upon thousands of hours of content. Even though I said previously that the lack of difficulty options was this game's biggest flaw, the more and more I play this tremendous title, the more I realize that no create mode is what is truly keeping this game down from greatness. Or rather, it prevents this game from ever reaching the heights of Little Big Planet. It might be a spectacular 3D platformer with a pretty substantial amount of content, but that's all it'll ever be. It'll never transcend and become a truly special game like the originals. And that's what bugs me the most. See, no matter how good this game ever was, it could never come close to Little Big Planet. That being said though, I really don't want to taint anyone's vision about this game. It may not be an LBP game, but it still manages to be one of the best games I have ever played and my personal favorite 3D platformer. If you are even remotely interested in 3D platformers or Sackboy in general, pick up this game. It will charm and delight you throughout. The same goes for LBP fans, considering whether or not this title is worth their time. It really, really is. But Sony, just please, don't have us wait another generation for the next Sackboy title.